How did transforming into werewolves almost make the cast lose their eyebrows and nails? Which strict rule ended up changing the whole show when Tyler Posey broke it? And what rules did Holland Roden have to follow as a banshee that ended up destroying her vocal cords? Hi, I'm Joy, and let's go. Becoming werewolves.
This is what I usually do, only I'm on the other side, and I usually sit in the chair for about 6.5 hours every day, and then it takes like 15 hours to take off. So it's like my whole day is consumed with the werewolf.
Would you believe it if I told you that the Teen Wolf main cast spent as much time in makeup chairs as they did in front of the cameras? Well, that's what it took to get all werewolved up before scenes. And there are quite a few strict rules the actors had to subject themselves to. For one thing, the actors were forced to have their real eyebrows glued onto their faces, so that the prosthetic ones wouldn't pull them off during the removal process. We push the eyebrows down, Tyler Posey, aka Scott, said. We powder the eyebrows so that when you glue the bandit mask onto my face, my eyebrows don't stick to it, which could hurt. So what is a bandit mask? It's basically a ski mask which covers your forehead, goes down your cheeks, and around your eyes. It's a one-piece silicone prosthetic formulated to look and feel like human skin, and it should move as if you have nothing on.
This is always the pivotal hard point, because if that doesn't line up, the makeup doesn't line up.
Even though it looks quite natural, the actors often ended up complaining about it making their faces itchy. When that happens, they're all forbidden from scratching, no matter how annoying it is.
You see how you can tell what's skin and what's not skin? So that's definitely not skin. Can I stipple? Yeah. Let me stipple. It adds texture to the edge, so it looks like skin.
One thing Tyler is very proud of is never having damaged one of his masks, despite many itching spells throughout the course of the show. When it comes to their werewolf ears, every wolf on the cast has his or her own ears created from a plaster mold. According to Tyler, this is the one thing they go through the most on the show. Apparently the ears get really dirty and torn up, especially when they're touching up his hair, which they actually do quite frequently, but more on that in a second. Tyler said the hairstylists often got into trouble for moving or disrupting his ears, and the costume designers have to be careful when Tyler's character has to wear something like a motorcycle helmet as a werewolf. Another part of the makeup process that can be too much is airbrushing the prosthetics to match Tyler's skin tone. Tyler said that the paint emits a lot of fumes, and he sometimes has to hold his breath and close his eyes. The problem is, after days in the sun or long winters, Tyler's skin tone starts to fluctuate, and the more it fluctuates, the more paint he has to wear. At the start of the show, all the werewolf actors had their claws physically glued onto their nails during fight scenes, which was not only really damaging, but it also really hurt when one would get snapped off in a fight. Luckily, as the seasons progressed, they got new types of nails that didn't hurt as much, but meant that they had to be extra careful with them. One thing that's particularly annoying for Tyler is having regular molds taken of his jaw, due to his teeth shifting a lot. Usually his new set of wolf teeth would be really comfortable, but as soon as his teeth start to shift again, they become painful like braces. And when all the scenes are done and it's time to go home, Tyler and whoever else had to werewolf up spend half an hour longer in the dressing rooms to get all their makeup and prosthetics removed. Even though the team does try to rush, they have to keep the actor's skin in mind and have to be gentle with the stickier stuff.
Sometimes the gluey areas kind of pull at your skin a little bit, so it just kind of feels like there's this pressure on your skin and your face all the time.
We save the ears and the hair pieces, Tyler's makeup artist said, but the silicone prosthetic? Those are a one-shot deal because the edges are so delicate. Once we take it off, the edges are gone. The makeup remover dissolves them, so that gets thrown away. Tyler's favorite part of the makeup removal process is, of course, the nice hot towel he gets after it's done. In the end, despite looking the part, Tyler said he found it really odd and awkward to pretend to be a werewolf. The actors never got any professional wolf training, so everything you saw from Scott was Tyler going with the flow. Tattoos were forbidden.
This one is like a month, less than a month old, maybe?
That's gonna take a while too.
But Jeff said he might write it into the show.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's good news about that.
So it's like a werewolf mark?
So, like a tribal, I don't know.
We all remember the scene in which Scott decided to get a tattoo, but discovered that it didn't exactly come easily to werewolves. One of the #1 rules around Teen Werewolf's werewolves is healing quite quickly, and that includes getting inked. Well, when starting the show, Tyler already had quite a few tattoos. He quickly learned that they weren't going to fit his character, and the makeup artist had to spend even longer covering up all his ink, especially whenever Scott went shirtless in scenes. Tyler was actually forbidden from getting any more tattoos, but the actor, who's always been openly fond of getting new ones, couldn't stick to the rules. He got his infamous double band tattoo on his arm without clearing it with the showrunners, and instead of getting into trouble, they decided to work his new ink into the show. That's right, Scott's tattoo might have a major significance in the series now, but it started out as Tyler breaking the rules. In a way, you could say it's a good thing he did, because not only did the tattoo give us more insight to Derek's own tattoo that he had since the start of the show, but Scott's double band would go on to become the symbol of the McCall pack. Crazy, right?
What? Are the other werewolves gonna have to, get the mark too?
I don't know. Because Tyler has that big one on his back?
Yeah.
Fight scenes. In any series, filming fight scenes can be a difficult task with a great many elements that can go wrong. With that in mind, you might assume that even with the back-breaking shooting schedule of a television show, that these scenes are well rehearsed. While apparently nothing could be further from the truth, it turns out that a dangerously small amount of time went into practicing any of the Teen Wolf fight scenes.
This is how I get in the zone. Yeah.
According to Max Carver, who played Aiden, the cast was given a half hour at most to go over these scenes ahead of time. In fact, it wasn't uncommon for them to have as little as 10 minutes to learn the choreography. We're obviously lucky that our favourite heroes not only made it through the series alive, but also that our beloved actors survived filming at all. Max said, "So between takes we'd be like, okay, almost punched you in the face last time, sorry, let's go through it again." Can you imagine the pressure going along with this much uncertainty? Luckily, despite their limited rehearsal time, the fight scenes still remained incredibly fun for most of the actors.
And once they get a basic, well-rounded grip of the fight, then we start fine-tuning it, tweaking little things, getting it closer. But today, the main thing is we want to be playful.
Adelaide Kane, the actress who played Cora Hale, said that her on-screen brother Tyler Hoechlin actually wanted to backflip off of things the entire time. Sounds a lot like Derek Hale, doesn't it? Even though Adelaide said she couldn't do extreme things like that, she did have a background in martial arts and was always down to getting thrown around. One thing the showrunners did consider a high priority was the actors staying safe. They couldn't afford to break any of the actors' noses, so they had stunt doubles doing the most daring things.
There was a lot of choreographing going on with the fighting. There were a lot of stunt guys doing the fight scenes and then shooting inserts of the actual actors doing the fight stuff.
Look guys, it's heckling.
There's 3 stunt doubles.
Adelaide said that she, as many of her co-stars, really tried to do as many of the stunts themselves, and she especially felt bad for her own stunt double whenever she'd see her get bruised or hurt.
I got pulled through these 2 walls. I was on a wire. And then in a separate shot, he comes in, picks me up, and just smashes me through the other floor.
Despite being slightly unprepared and things sometimes getting rough, it's great that everyone was still having fun.
Really beat me up.
I'm really sore right now.
Yeah, you got beat up.
I just slammed my elbow into the ground when we were jumping to the ground. It's okay, it happens every week.
Scott's hair. In 2020, the Teen Wolf cast reunited virtually amid the coronavirus pandemic to spill secrets about the new show. We got to see all our favourite faces together again, from Tyler and Dylan O'Brien to Holland Roden, Shelley Hennig and Dylan Sprayberry. Throughout the reunion, the cast talked about their favourite episodes, things they missed, and they even answered some juicy questions.
Jeff, you can speak the truth now. Who gave you the most headaches over the years? Who was just a nightmare?
Honestly, Tyler Posey's hair.
Yep, you heard that right. Explaining, he said that throughout the show, and especially the first season, none of the hairstylists could understand Tyler's hair.
Just figured it out. I got inspiration from Jelly.
First season, we couldn't understand it. He looked different in every shot. And we started calling it a living creature. We were going to give it its own cast chair.
Jeff even joked by saying that at one point they were planning on giving it its own cast chair. It's only in season 3 that the stylists finally learned to do his hair properly. But it wasn't just the hair on his head. Whenever Scott turns into a werewolf, you might have noticed a pair of perfectly placed sideburns on either side of his face. Well, apparently these tiny patches of hair gave stylists even more trouble. Because both sideburns had to match up perfectly, they had to be measured while Tyler stayed as still and straight as possible. It wasn't until they were both perfectly lined up and attached to his face that they could be glued and dried with a blowdryer. When they didn't match up then, the entire process starts all over again, which can sometimes start to irritate Tyler's face.
Yeah, awesome sideburns. The hair pieces are almost done. We have this one, and then another eyebrow, and then a hairy triangle that goes on my forehead.
Did you ever imagine turning into a werewolf took this much effort? Lydia's screams. Lydia was arguably one of the characters with the best character development. She began as your typical high school queen bee type who lives for nothing but fashion, makeup, and dating the hottest guy around. However, she quickly developed into a much more complex person, and she eventually became one of the most well-liked of the show's main cast. Of course, one of the biggest advancements in this was finding out she was actually a banshee. You know, the kind of creature that can crack your skull with the power of her screams? Well, as it turns out, the screams were fake. To a degree, that is. During the filming of Season 2 and 3, Holland Roden had to spend extra hours practicing and performing the different screams of her character. They were all recorded and stored in a type of scream bank. As unpleasant as this experience was for Holland, luckily from then on whenever Lydia screamed, the showrunners just took a matching scream out of the scream bank. "I do scream on camera," Holland said. "I mean, for the first 3 seasons up until 3B, I did all of the screaming. Some of the takes, they'd say, save your voice till the last 2 or 3 takes. Usually it was at least 3 to 5 screams." She also said that sometimes they would try to get it wild, which is where Holland had to hold a microphone in a recording station and then just scream randomly. They'll give her certain directions for certain types of screams, and then it all depended on whether they thought they could use any of them. When asked why they implemented the scream bank, Holland said that it was all because of problems she started to experience with her voice. Before Teen Wolf, the actress said that even though she wasn't a singer, she used to be able to carry a tune. Suddenly, when going on auditions that involved singing, she noticed that she wasn't able to hit any notes correctly.
A lot of people would be ish. I used to have a pretty strong singing voice, and now, so I'm trying to get that back. So I'm trying. It's not going well.
She ended up going to the doctor, who said that she had actually stripped her vocal cords pretty severely.
One person said I had ruined it. Oh, I love that shirt. It's Bryan Cranston shirt. One person said I ruined it. The next person said I didn't, and it's still like my voice has kind of changed.
Luckily, the showrunners were pretty understanding, and Holland ended up filming the rest of the series just mouthing her screams.
What does a scream without sound look like when you actually see it?
Oh, it's funny. It's like, it's like, and then I have to give something where,
Today, she still says she has a raspiness to her voice, but she's currently working with a vocal coach to try and heal it. What do you think about all the rules the cast had to follow on set? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.